ここでお礼をまあ光の選手の皆さんありがとう
ありがとうございます。
そんな桐生さんなんですけど、
はい、
松田さんなぜご自身の公認として桐生さんを
そうですね。まあ交代の時のね記者会見ではまあいろいろ話しましたけど、まあこういうものを買っちゃうようなね、このこだわりっていうんですかね。いやまあこのこだわりとかね、もうしつこさはやっぱり大事だと思うんで、やっぱりやっぱキルちゃんさすがやねって感じでね。
ありがとうございます。
はい。よそのゲームですけど、まあ一応関係でね、頑張ってやってもらいたいなというふうに思います。
すみません、ちょっと声張り。
すいません。ちょっと滑舌悪いですよね。すいません。すいません。
皆さんご覧の放送はファイナルファンタジー14プロデューサーレターライブをお送りします。取締役放送ではございませんのでご了承いただきます。
そうですね。現社長、新社長、取締役が一応集まってる。
だいぶ濃い空気になって。
社長あとご引退された後ってなんか伸び伸びこれをするぞ俺はみたいな。
いやそれもゴルフです
めちゃめちゃ嬉しそう。
I don't expect anything too substantial from this. It's just the first live letter.
急に降りることになってからって何でも言ったらダメですよ。
We'll probably open up the. Let's turn this down while they're just chatting. I also have the Discord for. Actually.
ガチンと足を骨折して、まあ入院かなと思ったんですけど、
But on Discord, there will be translation. Well, usually they have slides on translation.
ガチガチですね。
He's
じゃあ
regular.
もう心ゆくまでまずはゴルフを楽しむぞ。いや
4年間ゴルフやんない？
僕はゲーム開発を引退してから
Live letters tend to.
やるとダメなんですよ。絶対凝り性なんで、俺はプロゴルファーになるって多分言い出しちゃう。シニアプロがあるじゃないですか、ゴルフって。
そうだね。
何歳になってもいけちゃうんで。
300ヤードぐらいのビッグドライブみたいな。
Let me
そうなるともう返し来なくなる。
確かに帰ってこなくなっちゃう。
change this
ゴルフ実装してくれってすごいずっと言ってますよ。いいと思う。
そう、また
自由だな社長。
検討してないわけがないネタをいきなりぶっ込んである。いろいろ考えてびっくりした今。そういうなんか打ち合わせにないぶっ込んで。
There we go. Have the Discord up with the translations. Up with that.
いや、じゃあ大体そんなところであと思い残す。
もう思い残すことはないですね。これはもうね。
大丈夫ですね。
もうお二人にでボロボロとこれからは頑張っていっていただければ。
はい。
ぜひゴルフ実装してください。
2回言った。
いやまあでもしっかり引き続き頑張っていきますんで。
はい。
ぜひあれです。まあ社長退任されるとはいえ、我々にとってはやっぱりここまで一番先頭に立ってある意味引っ張ってきてくださった方なので、東京ドームのファンフェス、あそこで花道はドドンと作りますんで、はい、その時はゴルフカートひっくり返って骨折とかして車椅子で渡るとかないようにぜひ
リリーフカーに乗っていただいて登場する。
そうですね。送り出しを盛大にさせていただきますんで、はい。
本当皆さんに本当お世話になりまして、ありがとうございました。
はい、ありがとうございました。
失礼します。
はい。じゃあ松田さん、ありがとうございました。はい、ありがとうございます。
Just talking about the resigning CEO of Square Enix, Matsuda. He's been there for a while. He's been pretty friendly towards the game as far as I know. He's always been kind of in the background. He shows up during the fan fest and whatnot as well. But he's resigning. Kind of a, is what it is. Especially recently, he's been one of the ones that have been pushing the NFT and what is it? Blockchain technology, blockchain games. We'll see what comes of that, but it seems like for Yoshida, the producer, wants to stay away from that stuff. 6.4 doesn't seem like it's going to be a significant patch. I mean, we're towards the latter bit of the Endwalker expansion patch cycle. I guess we'll probably get, of course, more MSQ, maybe another Criterion dungeon, the final Savage tier, and maybe a Relic step, and maybe a Blue Mage Island Sanctuary update. But beyond that, I don't expect too much. Excuse me. I think the guy in the middle is actually the new CEO. So I wonder if Yoshi P is a little nervous with the new CEO being right there. He doesn't seem like someone to break under pressure, but who knows? Guy in the center is essentially his boss now. That's a good answer, even though it's more of a who knows if it's true. What's your favorite SE game? Difficult to answer, but the one I am playing the most right now is definitely 14. I haven't been playing 14 as much recently, personally. I've been a little bit disappointed with the content in Endwalker. As someone who enjoys, I enjoy raiding. I do raid. I don't do ultimate raids, but I do savage raiding. But I also prefer, the large scale content, which has been absent from Endwalker. That's my favorite content, is Eureka and Bazia. Able to go into a zone and cooperate with people and do things like that. Any interesting episodes when playing 14 with your wife? When I get home, she'd have weapon and gear appropriate for my level and where she expects us to get to ready, and I really love that. So she pushes to progress faster. Looks like his wife is a 14 player. That's always nice to have a someone to play with like that. A companion. I'm fortunate to have found a community of like-minded players in 14 and other games that I play. Destiny 2. Pat wants us to invite you to the next patch note reading.
ぜひですね、松田さんの青魔同士に負けないようなコスプレをいつかどっかで披露させて、もし皆さん良ければしたいなと思ってますんで。まさかの志願タイプ。
There's a way just to get rid of the window.
ついに僕やらなくていい。
Just display.
新庄目だから。
待って。
Looking at.
すみません、声つながった。それはそれよ。それはそれ、これは両方楽しみたい。2
人でやれって言われて。
そうね。
そ そうか、意外と乗り気ってことですね。
意外と、はい、というか、乗り気です。はい。
じゃあもう、ファンフェスタ全部制覇していただいて、はい。じゃあそろそろお忙しいとは思うので、
最後に桐生さんからプレイヤーの皆さんに一言いただいてしまいたいと思います。
はい、改めまして桐生です。皆さん本当にこれから、スクエアエニックス、そして、ファイナルファンタジー14どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。で、私も一人のプレイヤーとして非課線として、これからのファイナルファンタジー14楽しんでいきたいと思います。あと、ちなみに私の、キャラクターネームはもしかしたら知られちゃうかもしれないんで、言っちゃいけないので言わないです。はい、大丈夫です。さっきのデータセンターみたいなことはないんで安心してください。はい。ということで、引き続きよろしくお願いします。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
ちょっと最後に一個だけ、
はい、
僕松尾さんがね退任されるっていうところで、心残りというか、
My first time doing a live stream of the live letter. Usually I watch with other streamers. I could tune in another streamer that's reacting to it. So we have someone to with.
4000万とか言っちゃうんですよ。で今回交代されるから、一回こう目標はねちょっとリセットというかして
そこちょっとすみません、ここだけ社長になります。ぜひ。
Well, while they're doing that, we actually wanted to talk a little bit about some news that we found out yesterday, and that is that E3 is canceled. E3 2023 has been canceled officially. It was canceled in 2020 due to the pandemic, but this time it just seems like everybody is pulling out of E3. This is the IGN posting. Almost a year after announcing its return, the ESA Entertainment Software Association announced today to its members that this year's E3 has been canceled. IGN can confirm. It's interesting that this is March. This is 3 months out. Not even, more like 2 months, because March is pretty much over. 2 months out, and E3 is canceled. It's been a while, obviously, since E3 was in person because of the pandemic. Last year wasn't too the last couple years hasn't been too hot. The event was canceled in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and while digital version was held in 2021, the event was canceled again in 2022, so that was last year. In an effort to focus on a revitalized showcase that would set a new standard for hybrid industry events. I forgot it was canceled last year, but I guess this is just the norm now. I think this is probably it for E3. Unfortunately. I do sort of miss E3, personally, as someone who grew up watching E3 and reacting to it, and along with some of my favorite YouTubers and streamers like Kinda Funny and Easy Allies, just watching the showcases and all that. But it's been a while since we got those showcases anyway. That sort of stuff seems to be rare these days. I would really love to see a return to the form for these sorts of events. Yeah, obviously we have Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest, and you have sporadic little events throughout the summer on top of that through the different publishers and whatnot. But I feel like there's a big hole missing. I feel like we don't get the sort of pomp and circumstance, the hype that we got from, when Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo would do their own events. So yeah, it's definitely something that's going to be missed in my opinion. Just as someone who enjoys the hype of those sorts of things. We also have, in the winter now, we have the Game Awards as well, which is pretty much, a big event for announcements and that kind of thing, like we would see during the press conferences. But it doesn't, I don't know. For me, nothing is quite on the level of a Sony E3 press conference, especially one announcing a new console, where you see, years back we had Final Fantasy VII Remake announced, and along with Shenmue 3 announcement, which was a big deal for a lot of people. So, yeah, it's a bit of a bummer to miss out on that. Now, let's see. Releasing what's to come in patch 6.3. Releasing Tuesday or April 4th. Finally, the Abyss of Savage weekly restriction is removed. I didn't finish the last. I was on P8S, the 8th tier of the Pandemonium Savage. And I got to phase 2, but I didn't finish because I was tired of having to do weekly resets, weekly re-clears. I'll only do Savage through Party Finder. I don't have a static or anything, so it got tiresome for me. So I'm definitely looking forward to, the Savage weekly restriction being removed, and then I'll go back and finally finish P8S. I haven't done an ultimate yet. I would like to do an ultimate at some point in the future, but who knows? I'm playing a lot of other games now. I got into Destiny because of the Final Fantasy 14 drought, and that's become more of a main focus for me than 14 has. But of course, there's not a whole lot to do in 14 right now, which is one of the main reasons. A bit of a bummer for me. We're gonna
ごめんね、前後した
turn this
ね。
back up.
そう、パックス行ってきたんですけど、
I don't know why I would turn it up because I'm
北
not
米
like
の
gonna
本当
understand
それ
exactly
まあ
what
放送で
he's
もちょっと言
saying.
ったんですけど、北
Maybe
米
I'll just put a music in the background actually. While we wait for different. We can see what they're saying about. So he says, before we start the PLL, you seem very busy lately. A second week of the producer check for patch 6.4. On the road a lot because of him being the 16 producer as well. And we went over 6.38 like we said, which isn't a whole lot. Just say a Savage weekly restrictions being lifted, and the season 6 of was that Crystalline Conflict, just if you compete in that sort of thing. I'm curious about how active that is, the competition. It seems like there's been a lot of issues with win training and loss training and that kind of thing in the competitions because people just want to get the reward from it. Like they don't really care too much about the competition side of the PvP in 14. It doesn't really seem like Square does a great job of regulating that either. Like maybe they become aware of it, maybe they'll do something after the fact, but and hardware replacement, so is going to be during that as well. Server replacement, which means there'll be a 24-hour maintenance. This is general maintenance stuff. So yeah, E3. Yeah, I'm still going to focus a little bit on the E3 cancellation because that's I'm curious about what's going to happen. I mean, obviously this is a busy release year anyway, so we don't really have to worry too much about announcements right now due to this being such a busy release year. We have next month May is Tears of Kingdom Zelda. Then we have in June we have Diablo 4, Street Fighter 6, and Final Fantasy 16. There we go, patch 6.4 for 14. The Dark Throne. I guess that's the name of the patch. Okay. Wonder if we're going to face off against Golbez himself this time. Because Golbez is currently seems to be the main villain of 14 at the moment. Patch this storyline during the patches. Late May 2023. So yeah, almost 2 months. So we kind of expected that.
見ていきたいと思います。
はい。
画面お願いします。はい。まずはこちら、新たなメインクエストです。
はい。いよいよ
MSQ.
6.x X シリーズと呼んでいる、まあパッチシリーズもですね、この 6.4 から、
We expected.
折り返しまして、
Obviously, every patch has a main like patch has a MSQ update.
大きな山が迫ってきているということでもあるんですが、いよいよ折り返し後半と入りました。
気になる流れになっていますが、今日はスクリーンショットを2点ほどお持ちしておりますので見たいと思います。はい、お願いします。
なんかね、久しぶりっぽい人の後ろ姿が、はいはい。まあちょっとこのシーン、
Maybe that's just us.
どんな
Maybe Cry will be getting involved in the MSQ along with
いいかもなみたいな、はい、
character.
気がしております。はい。
We're entering the second half of the 6.x patch cycle, which means the next big thing is almost around the corner already. 7.0.
まあ今回ね、ある意味
This is Zero, who's a main character of
まあいよいよね、
the
どうなっていくのかというところも
patch cycle MSQ.
思います。
He was introduced, I think, in 6.1, 6.2.
では続いて参りましょう。続いての項目です。どうぞ。はい。タタルの大反
Aru's Grand Vendor. I haven't done any of that. That's just a side story. It doesn't seem like there's any significant content to it beyond the story. I haven't done it. Eventually I will, because I want to glam from it, but we'll get to that probably towards... I tend to let things build up. Oh, stuff dealing with good old Gaius and his daughter who survived, adopted daughter who survived the Werlit story from Shadowbringers. Sorrows of, I wonder if you have to complete Sorrows of Werlit in order to do this.
コメントにうぬがいっぱい。うぬがいっぱい流れて。本当だ。
Not too often we have to actually complete a separate side content. Like Sorrows of Werlit is technically side content. It's the trial series for Shadowbringers. So it's not too often we have to complete side content in order to do the new, you know, a side quest, essentially. I'm curious if that will be the case. Somehow further Hildebrand adventures. Obviously this deals with Hildebrand, comedy character. I enjoy Hildebrand. I haven't done the most recent quest. I'm probably going to let the Hildebrand and Relic quest kind of build up so I can do them all leading into 7.0. Something to do between 6.5 and 7.0, since there will probably be a longer period of time between the releases than there usually is. Just because 7.0 is a bigger... I'm hoping it's that some people seem to be predicting like 8 months, something like 8 months, because that was like the time between 5.5 and 6.0. I'm hoping that's not the case, personally. But we'll see. And I expect if, let's see, 6.4 is in May, I think, you know, October 4 to 8 September, maybe, for 6.5. And then hopefully my prediction would be January or February for 7.0, but who knows? See.
するっぽいんで、期待ですね。ぜひぜひ期待していただければ。10年早いんだよって言われて。懐かしいな。同世代の方いらっしゃいますか？
Pixelated Hildebrand right there. Almost pixelated. I mean, not quite pixelated, but it's got like a sort of hybrid 3D pixelated model. We have... What's the name of the alien is? Final Fantasy 8 alien. It is 8, isn't it? And of course the Relic quest leads into that.
そうですね。
うん。
まあでも、そうですね。全てを
Well,
形に
Hildebrand leads into the relic
もう
quest.
なんかふふっと
I've been disappointed with the relic quest personally. This expansion, I'm hoping there's more to it than just
話題になってましたね。
you know turning your tomes this time.
なんか
もう一人の吉田さんのプレ
I don't expect they'll make a large scale
あ
ブラック
zone like they have for Shadowbringers and Stormblood.
まあ
はい
そうですね。鍛冶屋はいるもんですよ。ゲームにはいるんですよ。
面白かっ
ロエ的な人はわかんないですけど。はい。わかんないですけど
At least something to give us to you know engage with
た。
content.
こちらもあります。モーエンツールの続編です。こちらも 6.45 ですね。
これね、ちょっとね、
Slender's tools. I think this is probably
さあ、これさ、
yeah, this is
ちょっとわけわかん
crafting
ない
and gathering tools relics.
これさ、
どうしたかな。
2ページ戻る
This is the
戻りますよ。
ページ戻る
version of Geralt that's on the
俺とさ、
first.
2ページ進んでもらっていい？
ね。
絶対構造合わせたでしょ、これ。
Yes, hair.
まあなんか新旧じゃなくね、
そうね。
共造世界でこう響き合うみたいな。
そうですね。
大体がね、この女性のね、後ろ姿もね、いろいろ感慨深いものが。
そうですね。
うん、
いや、しかしね、彼にいろんなものが牛耳られておる。
まあ世界はね、
そういうことです。
そういう
This looks like
ものですよ。
Rowena, even though Rowena, I guess it's a version of Rowena on the first.
が
うん。
これはっていう。
何がね、
ね
どう絡むのかが、
はい。
ちょっとわからないですね。
うん。
We have a bucket.
モーエンツールもご期待ください。
This is a mount. I'm curious
はい。では続いて参ります。
what role it plays.
はいでこちらです。
今回ももちろんございます。
New dungeon.
調整
There's one new dungeon for MSQ every patch,
ダンジョンです
so this is no
名
surprise.
前はこちら。
The Aether font.
完結合ってる？
合ってますね。精霊
ハー
完結。
ムと
ハームと
ほ
Aether
う
font.
英語にエーテルって書いてある。
書いてますね。イーサーフロント。イーサーフォント。なんでしょ
みんなハテナ。さあ、じゃあちょっとスクショを見てみましょ
う。
う。
はい、見てみましょう。お願いします。
おお、白熊アイラン
本当ですね
That's。pretty cool looking.
多数の。
ド。これ。
Looks like Charlian.
あなたはわかるのかな？
え？
なんか、
はい。
MMORPG っていうと、
はい
白熊っていう
あ、わかる。
Maybe it has something to do with
ありますね。なんででしょうね。
あるんですよ、実は。これ、なんでだろう。まあ、ウルティマオンラインからだと思うんですけど、
白く舞いますね。
EQ でもなんですよ。そ
Labyrinthos.
う、なんでってなるでしょ？でもね、多分ね、古くから MMO やってる人はね、わかるとかね、なんだと思うんですよ。
Polar bears.
白く舞置きたくなるんですかね。
It could just be, you know, because
あのー
Charlian is like
本当はダメなんですよ
kind of northern. That's why it
ね
snows there.
その中にちょっとね
So maybe this just
白熊さん連れて
is
きて
an area around Charlian that we'll go to.
加工でね、スパーしたりとか。
だからクマ、多分動物界ではクマ強キャラで登場するじゃないですか。
はいはいはい
まずクマが。
はいはいはい。
で、クマの色替えで白クマは必ず多分登場してるんじゃないですか。
あ、まあ確かに
そう
確かに。
すると、
確かに
なんかして目立つ。白クマいると目立つから、
うん。可愛いんですよね。
可愛いですね。
可愛いんですよね。そうなんですよ。そういうのを、
はい
あれですよね。怒って、こう
あ、そうそう
スパーして体力が減ったところを見計らって止めてるはずの姿を消したまま足止めを外したりとか。
そう。そうそうそう。コラコラと言いながらね。
ね、ウルティマオンラインの GM はね、遊び心満点でしたね。はい。
これよく見ると可愛い座り方してる白クマとか奥の方にいます。
いるんですよね。まあ
気になるし
Although
中の方がどうなってる
14
はい。
結構ね
dungeon, like they obviously the aesthetics,
はい。
like they do a great job of making the most of
結構
their graphics
テンポ感
and
が
making everything look nice.
なっております
This is a nice area, no doubt about it.
だと思います。はい。
一枚
もう一枚
スクリーンショットいただいております。どうぞ。
I just wish he had more reasons to visit these areas.
なかなか風光明媚な感じもあります。
Yeah, definitely Charlian infrastructure right
こ
here.
れはどんな
This looks like Labyrinthos right here.
ありますね。
あるよね。
Maybe it's an area of Labyrinthos we haven't actually visited.
なのかが
So I don't think we have this sort of skyline in Labyrinth, so it's probably not. We usually it's probably an area just outside of Charlian itself. New trials. There'll be some redacted. I mean, we defeated all the 4 feeds at this point. No, it actually is going to be Golbez. They're showing us Golbez. Are we going to the moon on the 13th? That would be super cool. Voidcast Dias. I'll be interested to see how if we wrap up this whole story in 6.4, and then 6.5 just focuses on the setup for 7.0, whatever that turns out to be. Yoshi P says he expects a tough fight, but every time he says this, I mean, not every time. I know there's the recent ultimates have apparently been some of the hardest content they've come out with in the game. DSR and Omega. But as far as the extremes go, well, I won't go that far. Barbarisha Extreme was very good. Very fun and tough. It was like had needed a lot of movement. And you had to be quick on your feet, which is kind of rare for an extreme. This is going to be, what's his name? Starts with the Z from the Warring Triad, Zervan. They've been doing the Warring Triad for the Unreal Trials. S3.
X シリーズって言って、後半に出てきたやつって結構ね、通ってない人も多いんですよ。印象的に。なんかわかりません？はい。いろんなことやっていくうちに、なんか一回やって。
Actually, I haven't finished Sophia. I need to do that. I started it, almost finished it, but I didn't end up finishing it. I was helping some other people through it. They actually ended up clearing without me. Like I said, I've been taking more of a break from 14. They're actually playing the music for Zervan. I don't know if you can hear it. New raid, Pandemonium.
タイトルが今回バンマデンパンデモニウム天国編
Anabasios. They're doing a Savage release 1 week after the patch, which is becoming the standard. Good call. I like that change. That's one of the good changes they've made.
前回同様ですね。パッチ 6.4 リリースから1週間空けて公開させていただく予定です。さて、ね、前回まあちょっとね難しくて調整もいろいろご迷惑をおかけしました。
I am curious who turns out to. I am interested in the Pandemonium story, especially where I left off with Pandemonium itself appearing on the source. Well, in the ether, the area where you meet Hylan. Interesting image. It looks like a tree. We already fought a tree though.
いいです。露骨にやばそうなやつ感が出てます。まあまあ非常にやばそうです。
What that looks like doesn't look like anything to me.
オルフェノク感が非常に
Completely new. Cool.
ある。初めて見たとき、オルフェノクかなって思ってしまった。まあ、すいませんね。わかんない人にはわかんないと思うんですけど。
I think the
まあ、出せるのは本当ここまでぐらい。
they kind of teased it in the last story part of this. Could be from Kamen Rider. He does kind of look Kamen Rider, doesn't he? But they teased the one of the people related that were in Labyrinthos part of the raid story. They went to Azaz La, which is the last known location of La Habrea, because La Habrea was taken into the Sword of Thornton after he died. I'm wondering how that will relate.
喜んでいただけるんじゃないかなと思ってますんで、はい、募集調整ちょっとやってます。はい、はい。じゃあそちらは次回。そうですね、詳細は次回。はい、お願いします。はい。では続いて参りましょう。続いてこちらです。どうぞ。はい。
The second Criterion dungeon, Mount Rockin.
第2弾が、はい、6.45 ではありますが、6混戦ということで。まあこちらね、新コンテンツシリーズなので、継続
We're not going to show the gear or whatnot. Usually they do, but they'll do that in the next live letter. I mean, live letter 2 for patch 6.4, probably next month, a couple weeks before.
そして、第1弾のシラディハ水道、未プレイでも、挑戦可能ですので、ぜひですね。
Doing the same thing as before with Criterion and Criterion Savage. Criterion Savage was just Criterion Dungeon, except for you couldn't die.
日本語だからって簡単に読めると思うなよみたいなのをちょっと感じるじゃん。
Which people were kind of disappointed in. I wonder if they're going to change that up at all. I don't expect they'll change. If they, whatever they change for this content won't be until they do it again, I imagine. Pretty much set in stone. Hopefully the rewards at least will be better this time. This looks like it's going to be related to Doma.
いろいろ偉いことをさせられるのかなみたいな感じがあるんだと思いますが、中もご覧いただきます。
Doma architecture, Japanese architecture.
戦える広さですね、これはね。戦えます。
Yojimbo? Let's fight Yojimbo again.
最近ちょっとざわざわしてます。ひっくり返るんじゃないかっていう。とどまってていいものかみたいな。14の手すりは壊れ、畳はひっくり返るっていうさ、イメージが。何も信用できない。ございますよね。
I kind of thought that maybe because the first Criterion dungeon, I think there's going to be 3 of them, who dealt with Nanamo, that maybe we would get something like that for each of the representatives of the city-states, but that doesn't seem to be the case, which I'm happy with. I don't really care for. I don't need to see more for, you know, Gridania and Whirlwhib.
こまめにというか、メジャーアップデートごとにやってまいりましたが、今回メインクエストで訪れるダンジョンのコンテンツサポーター対応、こちらになっております。どうぞ。
Duty support, trust for Stormblood. We knew that was coming. This one should be, well, I guess they have to do the they have to do the patches as well for Stormblood. That'll be in 6.5.
いけば、はい、全部つながる。で、そうですね、感慨深い。
One thing I was hoping they would do is a large scale high difficulty raid, sort of like Valdesian Arsenal from Stormblood and Delabrum Regine Savage, but that does not seem to be the case this time around. I always enjoy those contents. I mean, I don't think they should be related to the exploration zones or anything like that. I think that part was unnecessary. Because we'll be going into some of these with Gosetsu and Ian's his name. The person in the back seems like a random aura. It should have been what's her face, Serena,
そうそうそうね
because this looks like Barnum's Metal.
そうね俺強そうだよねうん
It looks like it's gonna be a random
はいで
NPC.
用意しておりますおどうぞ
ある
これね試練の中でありますよね
みんなのちょっとスンとした感じが素晴らしい一枚
ちゃんと
Barnum's Metal has some of the more interesting dungeon bosses because
サポーターたちは見事
some of them are mostly puzzles.
もう非課税にかかってますよ
なるほどね
これは非課税にか
むしろ責任重い
非課税にかかって
やぞ
ますんで
っていうなるほどなるほど
いやーよろしくお願いします今でもねマッチングで当たっていくとねちょっとね
ちょっとこう緊張感あります
あるよね、ちょっと減らしたくないなカウントみたいなありますよねなので、ぜひですね、
はい
ちょっと改めてまたね言っていただけるとはい
一人で気兼ねなくやれますからね
I'll probably wind up doing a video on 14 at some point, just talking about my feelings with the game at the moment.
2のブロック参り
They're complicated to say the least. And my hopes for 7.0, 7 point, you know, the next expansion.
ジョブ調整は行っていきますよというところだけお伝えしておきます。はい。まあどんなことをやるかというのはまた次回のね。
We'll probably get to the first details of the next expansion in June when or July, the end of July, when the first fan fest and North American fan fest is.
シリーズ4がスタートします。
New PvP series. I want to finish the current one because I did like the glam for it, so I do need to get on that. Have a you know month for that, so month and a half,
でさらに
2 months almost. Plenty of time. It's just need to make sure I actually do it. Frontline adjustments. Will it include a new map? Maybe? Personally, I feel changing Fields of Glory, Shatter. I don't remember which one that is. I think it might be the one where you fight, you attack the ices. But I like Frontlines, but I wish they would give it more love. I wish there was actually a large-scale PvP mode that you could just queue into at any time. Borderland Ruins will be temporarily unavailable.
詳細等々また、次回パート2の方でお伝えしていこうと思います。よろしくお願いします。
はい、ありがとうございます。
はい。
はい、それでは続いて次のブロックです。
はい。
こちらです。どうぞ。
Like, it would be cool if they would change Eureka into a PvP zone. PvPvE. Or at least have a version of it that is like that. Blue Mage update 6.45. Guess I'll bring it up to level 80. Not too long till Blue Mage is actually caught up to current content. Then what are they going to do with it? Just leave it and then... Really, they should make it... I've always thought they should let Blue Mage go into like deep dungeon and exploration zones. Give those some new life. Mass Carnival update.
さあ、じゃあちょっとスクリーンショットをはい。お、こんな感じで。
Well, the glam is okay, but of course you only be able to use it for Blue Mage, so it's not going to get a whole lot of use.
まあ一個だけなんかラーニングするのかなみたいな、してるのかなみたいなやつを一個ご用意したんで、
That's the kind of glam I want for a red mage. I wish somebody would ask Yoshi like, why can't we take it into, you know, this is a spell, a new spell. It looks like one of the attacks that Innocence uses. But why can't we take Blue Mage into Deep Dungeon and Eureka? Like, it's not. It doesn't seem like it would be that hard to do, and it would help out a lot for both of those modes, Blue Mage and Eureka. What's next? It seemed like it might be it for the main contents. Short break. I imagine that they might show off some gear. Usually they tend to do that after the break. But it doesn't seem like there's going to be much else as far as actual content. Kind of a bummer, not gonna lie. This is... It's a bummer in that it is exactly what we expect.
BD の中から1曲、Close in the Distance を流してしまう MV を見せちゃう。ラフトっぱら。ということで、オケコンシリーズ3動画をご覧いただいた後に、はい。我々の仲間である韓国運営チームがですね、韓国版の宣伝で日本でもちょっと話題になった、アニメの CM を制作されたのを、これよかったら、日本語字幕つけたから、紹介してくれてもいいよってくれたんで、ありがとう。日本語字幕付き。そう。なのでそちらも合わせてご覧いただきたい。なるほど。ということで、都合4本の動画を、休憩続けてご覧いただきますが、休憩は今から9時15分ぐらいまで、15分休憩しますかね、とさせていただいて、動画が、11分14秒。なんと3分。しっかり休めそうでしょ。
After the break, I'm actually going to... I'll probably stop the stream. But I'm going to talk a little bit about 14. Just a little bit. And how I'm feeling about the game in general. And my hopes for... I'll do something more in depth at some point. But... let this play in the background. 14... I love the story. I do. So as far as that goes, like... Right now, I'm kind of conflicted. Do I want to keep paying a monthly sub? Is where I'm at right now with the game. Because I don't play it all that often anymore. Mostly because I want to play it more than I do. But I don't have any incentive right now to play it, is my issue. I could stop subbing to the game, come back in 6.5 when we're getting ready for 7.0, wrap up all the content that's going to be in the game, and go from there. But also 7.0, like obviously they're doing the graphics update, which should be coming in 7.0. And obviously the dev team's attention is divided between 14 and 16, although 16 is already pretty much done development, it has been divided. And for the past 2 years since, it's been about a year and a half since Endwalker actually came out. And keeping that, also, there's been a lot of focus during the Endwalker patches for the, future proofing, making the game, the main story at least, solo friendly. There's still a couple things that you can't solo. Mandatory trials and the Crystal Tower alliance raids. You have to group up with other players. But for the most part, everything other than that you can do solo. And a large part of that is actually free. You can play, 1 through 60 completely free. That includes Heaven's Ward, which is great. I'm glad that's available for people to do. But as for players who are all caught up on the story, they're at max level, there's not a whole lot to do in the game unless you're a raider. Raiders are doing fine this expansion. You have Savage as expected. You have 2 ultimates. You have Criterion dungeons, which are, somewhere between extreme. They're more closer to extreme difficulty than Savage, I would say. But at least they're there. There's something extra to do. And I enjoy raiding in 14. But for me, I want more, something to grind in a game like this. I want something to, something to work on over a longer period of time. I don't want something that I can do in a couple of settings and that's it. And I don't have to go revisit it. Don't have to do it again. That's just not what I look for in an MMO or a live service game. Like we pay for these, so we have something to continuously do, something to do. Maybe not daily, but something we have a reason to log in at least a couple times a week. And right now I don't personally have that in 14. I know people play with their friends, like casual players. They're doing fine as well, obviously, because you have a lot of role playing. Role playing is obviously a big deal in 14 for people. You have your housing. You have your glam collections, you have your mount collections. You want to do that. You have Island Sanctuary, which is fun. I don't even consider it fun personally. It's pretty much just, you point and click on a node and there's no real engagement as far as there's it's not a mini game as far as I'm concerned, because there's nothing to it. You point, you click, you set up, your crafters to make stuff and so you can sell it, and eventually you get some glam from it. That's pretty much all it is. There's plenty of people that like that level of engagement, and that's fine for them. But there should be more to the game, in my opinion, than that. That's why I do like Basja. I do like Eureka. Eureka is one of my favorite. I came into the game during Stormblood. Eureka was something that I loved doing. It was going through all 4 zones, teaming up, meeting new people, conversing with them, doing all the going on hunt trains or NM trains, fate trains, and eventually doing Baldussi and Arsenal, which was also really cool. And then we had Basja, which was a sort of an evolution. I do prefer Eureka. Can't really tell you why I prefer Eureka to Basja, but Basja was also a lot of fun. We had the 3 raids. We had Castrum and DR, and we had Dalriada. And then I also love the critical engagements. I feel like the critical engagements in Basja should be brought to the open world, because the open world in 14 needs a lot of work. There's nothing to do other than your typical fates, and the fates in the game aren't all that engaging either, because you're just usually whacking a boss that doesn't do much as far as mechanics or anything like that. And the rewards in the open world content could use work as well. So that's where I'm at with 14 at the moment. We have an open world. Like I kind of went to WoW. I never really played WoW before. Last year, I've dived in. I've went into it every once in a while. But when Dragonlance came out, I gave it a shot, especially with how I was feeling with 14. And I enjoyed WoW because it gave me, like, it showed me, like, WoW is something you can just go into as a solo player and have something to do. You can go around and you have various world bosses you could do. You have elite enemies you could find and defeat and get a minion or a toy from them. And that's the sort of thing that is missing from the open world of 14, in my opinion, where you have something you just log in and you can do, unless you're a crafter or a gatherer, I guess. If you're into that, you can do that to your heart's content and make money for whatever reason. Even though guild doesn't really mean a whole lot of that, unless you're buying a house, either. There's no real economy in 14. So there's another issue. The main thing that I like in 14 is the story and is the gameplay. But there's not a whole lot of gameplay in the game right now. And that's the main thing. That's the main issue that I'm having. Unless you're a Savage Raider. And I love Savage. I do Savage. But I want to be able to just log in by myself, go into a zone, farm some fates with people, or do critical engagements, and not have to really chat with people, but cooperate with them. And that's missing from the game right now. So for me, we'll see how things go with after 7.0 comes out, because they're using 6.0 and the patch series to kind of future proof the game and make it solo friendly from the entire way, and do the graphics update and release 16. So with all that in mind, I'm keeping in I'm hopeful for the future. I'm not necessarily optimistic that, because they haven't really shown that they see these issues. Like, I don't know, it seems to be the player base maybe itself doesn't really care about these issues. Some of them do. I do see some people bringing it up. But right now, 14 feels like more of an episodic, ongoing story, like an RPG, than it does an MMORPG. And for me, that's where I am having an issue with the game. So anyway, I'm just rambling at this point. I'll probably do a more in-depth, summary of my feelings and my hopes for 7.0. I have a lot of, not expectations, but some ideas for 7.0 that I would like to see. I don't necessarily expect them to be, the way it goes, but it would be cool if, at least for me, if it did become the case. So anyway, that's it. That's me rambling on 14. I'll call it here. I'm probably gonna get some sleep here soon. Had a long night at work, and I don't expect this second part of Live Lever to be anything big. So I'll probably do. Coming up, I want to go over E3. Kind of do a reminiscence on E3 and look forward to the year ahead. At least 2023. The really big releases are coming out. Maybe do a tier list or hype list for them. So I'll do that at some point. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good night. And if you're, what are your thoughts on 14? I want to know. Like, subscribe, share. But tell me how you're feeling about the game at the moment. Like, what level of engagement do you have with the game? Are you a raider? Do you do more casual content? Do you consider yourself more of a mid-core player? And how are you feeling about, Endwalker? Beyond the story? Because everybody agrees the story is great, and that's what keeps a lot of people playing. But beyond that, like, are you satisfied with what the game offers as far as gameplay goes? So yeah, that's it. Have a good night.